One, two, three, four. Da 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 ba. Stiddy ba ba be da ba. Da 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 da. It's Wednesday. I'm in love. Hi, everybody. Sorry if the angle's a little goofy. Jeffrey borrowed my tripod. He hasn't given it back yet. Hey, I went to the comic book store today. Ah! Okay, so obviously we all have a lot of extra reading time on our hands. And I personally am terrified, but um, I always pictured myself as the world actually circled the drain in my room reading comic books. So I guess I'm not entirely unprepared for all this, but anyway. All right, let's see what I got at the old shop today. First of all, I have Join the Future #1. This is published by Aftershock Comics. This is an indie publisher of some regard that's been really ramping up for the last few years. It's written by Zach Kaplan, whom I don't think I'm familiar with, but it's drawn by Peter Kowalski. Is the main reason I picked it up. In fact, this didn't come out this week. I think it came out at the beginning of March, but I had missed it entirely. So I asked Warren down at the shop to order it for me, and it came in today. I don't know what it's about because, as per my policy, I don't want to know anything too much. But looking at it, you can see that it's a science-y fiction-y with a kind of a weird Western thing going on. I'm all for it. Peter Kowalski is a great artist. I know him from the book he drew entitled Sex, that was written by Joe, the guy that used to write Deadpool. The hell is his name? Casey. And that was a great book. That's all done and it's all collected in trades. You should check that out. I'm sure you've got. If you don't have a library card, you should. And also there are apps on, there's I use Hoopla, and then there's also Libby, which I was hip to recently. And so you can borrow a ton of stuff, including comic books on there. So I would recommend reading Sex. Gather the whole family around. It's fun. The book does have sex in it, but it's not. It's what it really is Casey trying to do, is Joe Casey doing a Batman story his way. So all the characters are very clear analogs for other characters that we're all pretty familiar with. And the story is pretty good, but honestly, it's Kowalski that's the draw for that as well. So even if this book would have to really suck hard for me to read it, because Peter Kowalski is that good of an artist. I wish I could tell you what else he's done, but I didn't do enough research before I turned the camera on. But I had to spend 20 minutes just getting these books stacked right. And also today, this did come out this week, X-Ray Robot #1 by the Allreds. Another one that I don't know anything about going in, and I'm totally fine with it. Does it look okay? I can't tell if the lighting's any good. If you're unfamiliar with Mike Allred, he is the best comic book artist / Mormon that I've ever been made aware of. He's drawn a ton of things and written. His own creation was Madman, which was an indie superhero book that he started in the 90s, maybe the late 80s. Oddly enough, one of the few books of his I haven't read. I guess it's not that odd, because unless I'm completely mistaken, there's only so much Mike Allred stuff out there. He doesn't do a lot of covers too, but there's only so many books out there because he's one of these guys who really takes his time. He's been doing a comic book adaptation of the Book of Mormon, which, no bullshit, I am dying to read. I don't think it's finished. I don't think it's been, even what's been put out has been collected, but I'm all on board for that. And he apparently takes it very seriously. But he drew Ecstatics, or when him and Peter Milligan took over X-Force, they went in a much different direction than that book had been going. This would have been in the early 2000s. And then they changed it into kind of a reality show, and then it eventually changed its name to Ecstatics. Great book. They revisit it every now and again, the two of them. What else is Allred done? Nothing else leaps to mind, but he's doing this book with his wife, Laura, who's also a very, very talented artist. And like I say, I don't know anything about it, but it's Allred. What do I have to lose? Well, it's a weighted question these days. That was Picks of the Week. Now Picks of... So, yeah, last week I read Decorum #1, written by Jonathan Hickman and drawn by Mike Huddleston. Very, very fun stuff. I'm guessing that Join the Future will be in a similar vein, because this starts with it's quite obviously a science fiction book, but it does start with a bunch of like a native tribe fighting robots. So I have a feeling Join the Future will have a similar thing. There's a very clear demarcation between industrial and agriculture, whatever. But yeah, it was really good. Huddleston's art was not disappointing at all. Like I said last week, I was not that familiar with this stuff. The script is very Hickman in that there's not a ton of, you know, Hickman doesn't hand anything to you. He doesn't spoon feed you on anything. So you just kind of have to hope for the best. But I mean, I've read everything he's written so far, and so far I have no disappointments here. So yeah. And it's about, like I said, did say last week, it is about the most polite assassin in the universe, and that is true. And that character is a delight to read. It must be very fun to write. And yeah, so yeah. Hopefully, it gets to get finished before Life on Earth. And then I also read Cable #1 by Jerry Duggan and Phil Noto. This is some great stuff, very fun stuff. It's some of Phil Noto's best artwork. I mean, just that cover alone. Look at that. Stupid old folded up movie posters. I love that stuff. And yeah, this issue is basically a retelling of that old fable about the mouse and the lion, and it's great. Like I said, Phil Noto is really working hard, and Duggan is bringing in all kinds of disparate plot elements. I like this as because this is the first of the second wave. Okay, so X-Men just kind of restarted again. So you had Powers of X and House of X, and then that was the only X books for a while, for a couple months. And then they started the X line over with X-Men, and it all comes from those. So the entire mutant nation is now on the island of Krakoa, and it's a sovereign nation, and they are offering shelter to any mutant is allowed, and it's very socio-political, very Jonathan Hickman. And now they're starting, now that it's been about 8 or 9 months since the X line has gotten going again, now they're adding more to it. So there's Cable, and then soon will be Hellions, and I think there's a third one I can't draw right now. So now we're into this wave, and it seems to be going well. There's a lot of action in this issue. And, oh, right. And then Duggan also, he wrote in some Space Knights. And also, I don't want to reveal the final page, but there's a surprise guest appearance. Very fun stuff. Really fun stuff. The sort of stuff that we all probably want to have right about now. Where's the pics of last... Okay. That was pics of last week. Okay, so that's that. I mean, for the 9 or 10 of you who watch this stuff, I hope you guys are okay. I hope you're keeping your heads down and laying low, and hopefully this won't be too disruptive. If I'm being 100% honest, and I am being 100% honest, I'm less worried about getting sick and dying than I am about the comic shop closing. So if you don't see if a Wednesday comes by and one of these doesn't come up, let's all hope that I'm dead. I mean, I'll hope that I'm dead, certainly. What else? But yeah, you got a lot of time to kill, I would imagine, and I probably should have grabbed some more books to recommend. Well, what's this whole shelf behind me? Oh, right. Yeah, here we go. I don't know if you've ever read any of Evan Dorkin's Eltingville Club, but I can't recommend this enough. If you know any comic book nerds, you will find something relatable in here. It's about 4 kids in Jersey who have their own sort of... it's the comic book science fiction fantasy horror role-playing club. And they're all 4 complete little shits, and they're pretty much exactly how me and my friends were when I was a kid. I want to say I wasn't as big of a prick, but, I would say that. So there's that. That's by Evan Dorkin. That's from Dark Horse, and you can probably find that at the library. This is another great book by Durf Backdurf. This is called Trashed, and Durf is more well known. I mean, he's not a household name, but his biggest thing was the book My Friend Dahmer, because he went to high school with Jeffrey Dahmer, and they made a kind of a low budget indie movie, but it was really good. So if you want to watch that movie, it's probably streaming somewhere. This is another true to life thing. Durf was a trash man when he was a young man, like in his late teens. And so it's a real fascinating, literally worm's eye view of that. This is published by Abrams, and I would imagine it's also on in your library, in the library somewhere. And I'm trying to think of stuff that is, but you would be able to find in the library. Oh, that's two for now. I guess I can probably drum up some more stuff. And I mean, by all means, feel free to reach out. If you're watching this, you probably can text me, or you can post a comment and say, "Hey Jim, what about this?" And if you want something like specifically recommended, if you like science fiction, if you like westerns, if you got kids and you want them to read stuff, I mean, I still even give recommendations like that to my ex-girlfriends, so I'm more than happy to give it to anybody else. And beyond that, everybody. Fingers crossed that I'll be back next week. And yeah, just try not to die, I guess is all I can really say. 2, 3, 4. Ba da ba ba deep da do 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 do. Don't forget what I said about the not dying.